Hey guys, I had a whole lot of fun making these feet for a Voltron cosplay, so if you're curious on how I made these, keep watching. Alright, first things first, you're going to grab some shoes that you want to use for this project. We're going to be making some shoe covers for those shoes, so grab some spare fabric. I'm actually using a jersey knit fabric here, which has plenty of stretch to it. You're then going to grab a bunch of straight pins and pin the fabric around your shoe. This is a bit hard to describe, but where you pin the fabric, the two pieces should meet in the middle of the shoe, so that later when you cut around it, you'll have the same size pattern for your left and right side of the shoe. You're going to want to grab some fabric scissors, not the horrible scissors I've just grabbed. You'll see me change scissors in a second. But you're going to grab some scissors and cut along the pins. I cut along the bottom of the shoe. You can choose to cut higher or even lower than I did. However, you do not want a lot of fabric on the sole of your shoe because fabric, it's pretty slippery. And fabric just doesn't hold up against stuff like concrete. However, I do cut out later on a small piece of fabric to go under the toe, just to keep that shoe cover on better. Now run off and sew those pieces together. In the meantime, I'm going to show you another way to make a pattern for your shoe covers. That might actually be a little easier, but takes more time. You're going to grab a roll of duct tape and just cover your shoe in duct tape. Normally, I would cover the shoe first in aluminum foil or even some saran wrap, aka plastic wrap, but I don't really care about these shoes, so I'm just going to go the quickest route. Now that you got your shoe covered in duct tape, it's time to get it off. It's easiest to cut the duct tape actually into two pieces, essentially dividing your shoe into a left and right piece. Once you've got your pattern cut out, you're going to then take your fabric and just put your pattern down on the fabric and cut around that pattern. And that's it. Alright, once you get everything sewn together, now you need to check the fit. If it doesn't fit right, you got to go back to the drawing board, whether it's change up your pattern a little bit or just go back to the sewing machine and alter things a little bit. This is when I actually add that piece of fabric underneath the toe. So you'll see me just lining up my shoe and cutting around the toe of the shoe. This is simply just so that my shoe cover doesn't fall off while I'm walking. And of course, go sew that piece onto the rest of the shoe cover. So here's how it turned out. I actually noticed that there's a little hole in the toe of the shoe, but I don't really care about that because I'm actually putting this big green piece of foam onto the toe of my shoe. I'm then going to grab some barge cement in order to actually glue that piece of foam onto the toe of my shoe. As a side note, I'm using this piece of foam essentially as an anchor point for the toes I'll be making a little later. I tend to add a little extra glue to the foam piece so that when I place it down on the fabric and then peel it back off, I actually get kind of the shape and positioning of where the piece of foam is going to go, and then I can go back and add more glue to the fabric. Once everything is glued, you're gonna wait for it to dry. So now we're gonna move on to the toes. Here's the basic pattern I used for the toes. I cut out each shape twice and then traced it onto EVA foam, as you can see here. You actually need 2 pieces because you'll be gluing them together later. So here I actually use a box cutter to cut out all my pieces from EVA foam. Be sure to have a sharpener on hand. It makes things a lot easier. EVA foam has a rough side to it, so I take my rotary tool here and sand down the rough side with a sanding bit. This is helpful so that later on you can actually glue the 2 pieces together much easier. And this is the end result. And again, you're going to grab your glue and glue your pieces together. I actually cut my pieces out haphazardly, so after gluing them together, I realized that the margins don't match up, so then I take my rotary tool here and sand them down so the margins do match. And so that the sides look like they're one continuous piece. I am now cutting out a notch in the underside of my foam toe in order for it to fit my shoe. I want the foam toe to both touch the floor and extend over the toe of my shoe, so some sanding is required to kind of get the right shape. I'll show you what I mean a little later on in the video. But for the most part, I do this to all 4 toes. A rotary tool in general is just an awesome tool to have, especially if you're going to be making a lot of cosplays. I mean, it's also just good around the house. But it's just really awesome because you can take that sanding bit and some grinding bits and kind of just mold your EVA foam into the shape you want. So here's what that notch looks like up close. And that notch, once again, is just so that it fits onto the toe of my shoe better. And it looks like more of an extension of my actual foot. There you go, see, it's flush with my toe and flush with the ground. To glue your toes on, you're going to place your toes where you want them and then mark out their placement with a Sharpie. And then you glue them. Once the glue is nice and tacky, you stick them on and then you put them on. Of course, you're going to need a little bit of paint, but I'm not going to show that. That's pretty simple. But yeah, that's how I made my feets. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.